previous two speakers. What amazing messages they had. Well, I want to share with you a few stories, three in particular, from my work leading young people into the field in mission work. And as he said, I truly believe that leadership, it all comes down to action, to leading from the front, to being involved in the work. Now, I work for an organization called ADRA. How many of here have heard of ADRA before? Every hand should go up. In my opinion, we do three things with excellence, probably more, but at least three things with excellence in Adventism. From our school systems, our healthcare systems, and our humanitarian efforts through ADRA. ADRA is in over 130 countries to this day. We're celebrating our 40-year anniversary of being called ADRA, although we have roots in humanitarian work before that. And this is a very short video of what it looks like to work for ADRA.
We are ADRA, a global community of people helping people. Our work reaches women, children, and men in need, in communities big and small around the world, in challenging times and rewarding times. We serve humanity so all may live as God intended, with justice, compassion, and love. Learn more about us and get involved. ADRA.
What were those three words, friends? Who remembers? Do you remember? It was justice, compassion, and love. I am so privileged and proud to work for this organization. All of our projects in those 130 countries fit into one of these focus areas, ranging from gender equity and children, education, livelihoods, agriculture, disaster response. And my personal job at ADRA is called ADRA Connections. Now, this is an incredible program. We have designed this program to take groups of young people, so from our academies, our schools, from our universities, from our churches filled with adults and families, into the field to work on some of those existing projects that ADRA is doing all over the world. This is the gold standard of humanitarian intervention, of the development work that takes communities struggling with extreme poverty in their context through their needs to take those steps to develop. I get to take groups of young people all over the world, and I want to tell you three stories from my experiences that have helped me learn about leadership myself. This is what our groups look like. Can you imagine the energy that this group has? 130 university-age students, 75 from the United States, 75 from the UNASP University in Sao Paulo. We descended upon Manaus in the middle of the Amazon, and we built an entire school. Well, we have many projects that we're doing starting this year on through the next several years that we are committed to. And I could tell you stories from each one of these locations, but I've selected three. And the first lesson that I learned was that intentions don't always matter. What's the axiom? Perspective becomes reality. So let's all fly with me to our first location, to Brazil. Get your wings out. Come on, let's fly. Let's fly across down into South America and land in the amazing city of Manaus, the capital city of the state of Amazonas in Brazil. An amazing city, thriving cosmopolitan city. But there we boarded these double-decker boats and went 30 hours deep into the Amazon. 30 hours one way to get to the location where we built an Adventist school in the middle of the rainforest. Now, we live on the top of these boats in hammocks. You can imagine how much personal space you have throughout the course of this 2-week trip. And we hang out, eat our food, have our worships in the second level of the boat. And we had, in this particular story, 8 boats filled with university students and our adult sponsors to descend and build that campus right there in the middle of the rainforest. Isn't this incredible? Somebody should be saying amen to this. We're building Adventist schools in the middle of the rainforest. The students that come have a boat bus system that takes them from all of the surrounding communities to attend school here. It's a technical school. They, of course, learn writing and mathematics and science, geography and history, but they're also learning technical skills in the orchard behind, in the computer lab, learning computing and basic processing, things that they can apply in their context, in their homes. Well, we were building this school, and I had a team of about 8 people from ADRA, and our mandate was to continue building this program called ADRA Connections. So we had several interviews with locals, with our volunteers, with the leaders lined up. And we were traveling. If you look at the far left of your screen, you'll see that there is that square building right above the circular building. That was the cafeteria. Our administrative offices were in the back. So we were a little late to an interview, and we leave that building from the back, walk around, and we are fast walking through the middle of the campus to get to our interview with the village about, let's say, 500 meters away. And there's 150 people, so 150 jobs happening all over this campus. And right in front of us, as we're walking, a flatbed wheelbarrow stacked high with bricks hits a rock, tips over, and the bricks go flying. Well, we were already late, but I jumped in, helped them restack the bricks, and got them over the rock, and they kept going. So I felt really good about myself. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, see, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to jump in and help where you can. But what did we say? Intentions don't always matter. And I found out 7 days later, when one of my colleagues from ADRA Brazil, there's a lot more to this story, but he's tapping my chest and yelling in my face in front of 50 of our volunteers saying, you think blah, 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 and you think that you came in and you're gonna be in charge and all of these things. And he said, I heard about you. You were just here for a photo opportunity. I heard that you just had your photographer follow you around and you helped pick up bricks just so you could get a photo. My heart broke. All of my intentions to build this program, to get these interviews, to build this school. But the perspective of my work was that I was just there for a photo opportunity. It changed the way I approached my job. And I to this day, I completely disagree with this person. Obviously, that's not what I was there for, but that's the point. Sometimes intentions don't matter. Not always, but sometimes they don't matter. So I started adding into my leadership of these mission trips. And I found that small actions can make a big impact. So where are we going next? Let's get our wings out. We're flying to El Salvador. Anyone been to El Salvador before? One of the coolest places. Let's get our wings out. Don't just sit there looking at me. Let's get our wings out. Let's fly all the way down. Well, we were in Manaus. Now we're flying up to San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador. A beautiful, albeit small, country in Central America. Who knows what let's take a break and appreciate Salvadorian cuisine. Who knows what kind of food that is right there? Anybody know? Pupusas. Oh, don't get me started. We got to move on or else we'll spend the whole time just talking about food. So in this specific story, we were working with our greenhouses project. These are young farmers, people who come from an agriculture background, but are at risk of leaving the country or joining delinquent gangs because there's no employment opportunities, where they can't use their skills. So we're building greenhouses and equipping them putting them into cooperatives so they have an economy of scale and they can start a micro-agro business right there in their home country. It's an incredible project. We coupled, look at the produce that comes out of these. These are tomatoes and chiles and green beans and cucumbers, delicate plants that get more money in the markets, and it literally quadruples or often more the income that they had before. An incredible project. And we're taking our young people into these situations of poverty and showing them how we can make real, lasting, sustainable change. I was working with La Sierra Academy in this community, and we were building not the greenhouses, we were doing the chicken coops, which is an ancillary side of this project. We gift them 100 baby chicks. You see the little chicks there? And then they grow into adult hens, and they get 80 eggs per day. Friends, can you imagine the income you have from 80 eggs per day? We're affecting nutrition, economics, livelihoods, the ability of elderly in the homes or children's with single parent families. It's an incredible project. But building these structures requires mixing a lot of cement. So here's the second story that taught me that small actions can have a big impact. Every single one, we were building 6 at one time, and my job is to make sure that all 6 groups are safe and have the equipment they need. And so every time we would visit one of these chicken coop builds throughout the morning and through the afternoon, I would jump in and say, hey, give me the shovel. Let me help mix some cement. Let me help move the rocks. Every single one, because I'm remembering that story of the bricks years ago in Brazil. And at the end of the trip, I heard one of the groups of students talking about their vice principal. Actually, there was a different group, but I'm not going to tell you which group it was, just so there's anonymity there. And they said, well, this person never helps us. They just sit in the air conditioning car and drive around visiting the groups. At least Adam helps us when he gets there. My friends, my heart grew 10 times when I heard them say that, because I remember the story of the bricks in Brazil. And they said, at least when he's here, Adam helps us with the work. Friends, small, 5 minutes of mixing cement, of moving a few cinder blocks. Small actions make a big impact. And then that led me to my final story and my final point, which is that proving yourself to young people, it often takes time. Can you raise your hand if you agree with that? Proving yourself to our students, in my context, to the groups that I'm taking in, it takes time. Just like having a tea party with your daughter. So now let's get our wings out, the last place we're going, and fly with me to Peru. We're staying in Latin America. I love the country of Peru. Friends, I could talk all day about this project. We're in Cusco in southern Peru, 2.5 miles up in altitude above sea level in the Andes Mountains. ADRA built a camp called Camp Chuquicahuana. Can you say that back to me? Chuquicahuana. Let's hear it. Very good. It's a Quechua word. They speak Quechua in Cusco, the language of the Incas. This was the capital city of the Incan Empire. And we built this camp strategically because it's surrounded by hundreds of villages up in the mountains, often 16,000 feet in altitude, nearly 3 miles. And these families live in precarious homes. You can see an example of one of the worst case scenarios that I saw. That was a home of a family of 4. And you can see on the right-hand side, I'm promising them that if they build their adobe structures, which was the buy-in to be part of this project, that we would come and equip them with a group of warm homes, ranging with several pieces of technology, from solar panels, wood floors, enclosed ceilings, trombe walls, and especially clean stoves to help them with their to keep their homes warm and to help them with development and cleanliness. So, this last story I'd like to share with you. We were in Peru with the group, and I was working in each of the homes with several of these student groups. And I kept trying to get meaningful conversations with them. This one group in particular, we were talking, and I could keep understanding that they weren't quite trusting, they weren't completely being honest. And the entire week, we worked together side by side. And then finally, at the very last day, we're sitting in Cusco, maybe right around 10 p.m. when we're supposed to be doing room check. They started opening up and sharing. And for the next 6 hours, the entire night it seemed, they poured their heart out to me on struggles they're having with identity, struggles they have with being an Adventist, struggles they have with their careers, their relationships. And it took the entire 2 weeks of being with them and proving authenticity with them for them to trust. But that was the most meaningful experience of the entire trip. Friends, I'm not an expert, but I can share with you my 3 principles on what it takes to be a good leader when you're leading young people. That, number 1, intentions don't always matter because perspective often defines their memories. Have you ever asked a young person to tell you, to repeat back to you what they heard from a presentation? Their perspective defines their memories. Number 2, small actions over time, over and over again. Small actions add up to make a big impact. So we need to be in the habit of helping, to be in the habit as leaders of, as our first speaker said, taking out the trash, helping with the chairs, and of course, casting the vision, as our first speaker said as well. But those small actions matter. And finally, we need to understand that proving ourselves, it often takes time. So let's be present, let's be available, and always be authentic. Friends, I thank you for listening to me and like to leave you with our verse from ADRA Connections. It is our goal to love each other as Christ loved us. Thank you all for being here.